All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick lesson. And for today's lesson, excuse me, I'm just going to be talking about one of my testimonies that I personally went through that I kind of wanted to share. I don't know if I ever made a lesson about this, but it was something that happened to me a little while back. And, it was kind of in a situation where I was, being, I guess, quote unquote, scarcely saved. Right. And so just a quick backstory, I had a situation where I was essentially my vehicle was falling apart, and all these different like plethora of different problems kept happening over and over again. First it was the I had a battery problem, then I had a problem with the I don't know, some other part of the vehicle. I don't remember all the technical terms for all these different things, but essentially it was kind of like one problem after the other, right? And I had a situation one night, because I had to drive down to a friend's house, and essentially the friend, he was close with a mechanic, and the mechanic, he was looking at the problem for me. So one night I went to go get the car, and I was driving, so I was driving home. So it's still, so the vehicle essentially is giving out different different problems essentially, right? So as it was giving all these different problems as I was driving. So I was driving on a very, very, essentially a very, very busy street, right? So cars are coming, they're like driving like 60 to like, between 60 and 80 kilometers an hour, right? So I'm driving, it's in the middle of the night, close to midnight, and driving, and so I stop at a light, you know and the car just kind of like cuts off and it shuts off. That was another problem too. The car was just shutting off essentially, right? Before I continue, let me get this quick precept. Actually, this precept just came to my mind. I think it's 12. First Peter's 4 and 12. It says, "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you." Verse 13, and it says, "But rejoice inasmuch that ye are partakers of Hamashiach Yahushua's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy." Right. So this is just part of we don't exactly have we don't go through the exact same things Yahushua did went through, right? But we partake in his suffering, right? Because like pursuant to Micah chapter 7, we bear the indignation of the Lord because we ultimately sinned against the Most High, right? So I just wanted to bring that out. So just a quick end of story. So I stopped on a busy street. So essentially, not of my own will per se. Like the car just kind of like cut off, and the dashboard, like when you drive at night, you turn the lights on so you could see inside, right? See the icons and all that kind of stuff. So the dashboard, the lights essentially were flickering. So like like the lights, like they were just flashing, going on and off, and I'm trying to turn the car back on, the car won't even turn on. I kid you not, this is a very true story, right? So as I'm trying to turn the car back on, I never I'm stuck in the middle of traffic, by the way. So it's a green light, cars are still driving by, and out of nowhere, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't even know what to do, right? But at the time I was learning about, I was actually reading Joseph's story, right? And his process of kind of like being sold into slavery, and then he ends up in Egypt, and then the Pharaoh's wife hit on him, and then he ends up being governor, like that second in command, and he gets that respect, that fame. His brothers eventually acknowledge him, right? So at the time I was reading that story, and that's what really, really kind of helped, to um, get me through what I was going through, right? So as the lights were flickering, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yo, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what to do. I had no idea what to turn to, or I just had that story just playing in my mind, right? And knowing the end result of how what happened to Joseph at the end, right? So that was kind of what was kind of going through my mind. As a matter of fact, I didn't have this on the screen. Just bear with me on this. Okay, this is Job chapter 8, verse 8, and it says, "For inquire, I pray thee, and of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers," right? So learning and understanding and looking at the acts of old, of how our forefathers conducted themselves in particular situations, right? Is really, really what I wanted to drive home the point. So just to end the testimony real quickly, um, what happened was I was sitting there and, and I'm kind of like, yo, I honestly don't even know what to do. I'm kind of just laughing it off, right? Because I know this is just a very dangerous situation I'm in, and I have no idea what's going to happen. So essentially, there was a gas station nearby, and I didn't even see the guy. He just came out of nowhere and he knocks on the glass like this. And he says to me, so I turned on the window and I said, like, hey, um, well, he says to me, he asked me what's going on with my car. And it's like, I don't know. The dashboard, the lights are flickering. I don't know what to do. And I was kind of like at a standstill, right? So he says, okay, put the car in neutral. So I was like, okay. I put the car in neutral, and okay. So when the traffic settles down, so as um as I'm telling you this story, imagine traffic is like driving by, like it's crazy, right? It's on a busy street, right? So he says to me, as the traffic when the traffic settles down, what we're gonna do, and when it passes by, right, when traffic clears and everything, we're gonna roll the vehicle onto the pavement, essentially, right? So I put a car in neutral, and what he does is, he stands in front of the car and he pushes my vehicle. So I'm inside, pushes the vehicle, onto the pavement, right, onto the grass, and so luckily I was able to get on the grass, and and he's like, okay, thanks a lot. Oh, that's what I said. Sorry. I was like, okay, thank you. Appreciate it. He's like, no problem. Have a good night. And the guy just went on his way. True story. True story. I got out and I'm thinking to myself, yo, that was a crazy, crazy situation. Right? So that was really the testimony, right? Of, being essentially, being in a situation where like, yo, this is a crazy, crazy story. It's so dangerous. But in the flesh, you're like, yo, the flesh, it feels a particular, feels a particular way, because it's uncomfortable. You're being afflicted, right? But you always at the end. I will kid you not. When I think about when you go through these particular situations, of different trials, there's always understanding that comes at the end of it. As a matter of fact, let me get that. I didn't have that on the list. I may not go to all the precepts I have on listed here, but hopefully, as always, I pray this is comforting and edifying. I think it's 10. Okay, Hebrews 12, verse 10, and it says, "For they verily..." Wait, hold on. 12 and 11, excuse me. So it says, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth a peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." Verse 11, it says, "No discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. It's painful." It's true. It's uncomfortable. You don't know what to do. But afterward, there will be a peaceable harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way, right? So there's always some kind of comfort, some kind of understanding that even comes after the fact, you know, after you go through that particular situation, like you learn, you get some bonus points, get some level up points. It's kind of like when you play Super Mario, and then sometimes they're like those old Super Mario games where he starts off small, then he has to jump over the shells and those those brown gremlins, and he gets the mushroom and it gets bigger, right? So that's kind of like, that level up. Essentially, you get more understanding, and that's something that I've personally have always always found every time I go through particular trials that Yahweh Bashim Shai takes me personally through, right? And I just want to share my personal testimony, in hopes that it would bring some sort of comfort and some sort of understanding, right? Because I'm not just, making this up as I go along, right? Let me get Genesis, because I mentioned earlier about Joseph. That was still is one of my favorite stories. And okay, I'll start at verse 18. Genesis 50, verse 18. Oh, excuse me. Reading in the NLT, it says, "Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. 'Look, we are slaves,' they said. But Joseph replied, 'Don't be afraid of me. Am I the Most High Yahweh, that I can punish you?' It says, verse 20, 'You intended to harm me, but the Yahweh intended it all for good.'" Right? So when you go back in the story, essentially, the brothers, I believe it was Reuben, I think it was Judah and Reuben, I believe, I'm not mistaken, right? So essentially, they had a hand in selling Joseph into slavery, and he was brought into slavery by a company of, I believe, it was Ishmaelites, right? I think that's in Genesis 37, 6 and 7, I believe. And so they had a hand in, essentially, the point really is they had a hand in Joseph's tribulation, right? I'm gonna read it again. It says, "But you intended to harm me, but Yahweh intended it all for good," right? So in this situation, all these different things and trials that Joseph that had gone through, it was actually all for his benefit. So it never ever seems, because remember, Joseph was also in prison, I think it was for approximately 2 years, right? So during that time, when we're in that affliction, it never ever seems joyous. It never ever feels good, right? But there's always that, like in Hebrews, it always says there's always that peaceable fruit. There's always that understanding that we'll get. There's always those bonus points we're going to get. And Lord's will, the Lord has mercy on us through the midst of, Jacob's trouble and this destruction, right? So, those are those peaceable fruits I'm referring to. It never ever feels good in the moment. I 100% agree. That's very, very true. But, there's always at the end, there's some kind of like spiritual understanding you'll always acquire at the end of it, right? So, just continue cleaving, like the woman that was that cleaved onto Yahushai's garment, right? That she was sick, right? Because Yahushai said, I came to they that are whole need not a physician, right? But they that are sick, right? I'll read verse 20 again. So it just says, "You intended to harm me, but Yahweh intended it all for good. He brought me into this position so I could save the lives of many people," right? So it was supposed to help, put Israel into a better state, right? As a nation, right? But on a macro scale, if you really look at it, all that tribulation that Joseph went through it was for his development. It was for his good, right? And that's the same thing with us. It's the same thing with us, right? So we're no different, right? So I guess I'll get this last. I'll just get one more because I didn't want to make the lesson too long. excuse me, 2 Corinthians 4, verse 17, and it says, "For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. For we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, so only for a time, but the things which are not seen are for eternal." And that's also those spiritual blessings, and Lord's will, the Lord has mercy upon us during these times, right? So it's a light affliction, because when you really think of it, like, how many of us can actually say that we sweat blood, like, honestly, right? We're just partaking in Yahushai's sufferings, right? So anyways, I wanted to make this lesson as a little bit of a sense of comfort, and that's about it, really. I'm kind of at I just wanted to share that. Hopefully it was edifying as well, sincerely speaking, right? So I guess I'll close off here. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.